tip weights, and fitting expectations. That and a whole bunch more here on What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Welcome back to the Golf Shop. Jim McCleary here, six-time top 100 golf club fitters, best golf club fitters with Golf Digest. And what's in our drawers golf talk? It started with a what was in my drawers in my golf shop, and we talked about that for a while. Why? Because club makers, old club makers and fitters are tremendous pack rats. And that's just what we're talking about today. More stuff in the drawer. So let's get it all started. So let's start. Congratulations to Mr. Fitzpatrick for winning the Open. Nice, right? He did it. Apparently, he was. I didn't see the first or last swing of that thing, but I'm hearing that he made some really clutch shots, and good for him. It's those types of playmaking capabilities that allow folks like that to win. It just whether even when you're, not feeling it, luck is always on your side when you're prepared like that. So congratulations to him. That's a good one. Number two, lots of stuff went on in the shop. Unfortunately, this thing doesn't want to connect to this thing in order for me to download some stuff. So I was going to show you a whole bunch of golf clubs that we were working on. Did a lot of singles again. We have a set of Mizuno Hot Metals gluing right now with some D9s getting ready to follow in behind them. Ordered a handful of sets of Callaways. I mean, it's been a very busy day. And this week has been, you ever had one of those weeks where just everything breaks, right? And I don't mean golf clubs, but I mean just stuff in general. So I got to deal with the truck. The truck's got an issue with the bumper. Then the lawnmower that's been with us for a long time decided to eat batteries. Figured that one out today. The other lawnmower that we have decided to stop running midstream, and figured out that was a bad gas thing. And as I told you, I think last week, that my other workhorse, the E-Z-GO workhorse, decided to bite the dust. So I'm down one golf cart slash workhorse. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going. And all that does is suck up energy and time. Well, I think we finally got her fixed. I got the golf cart. Well, we don't have that, so we're not worrying about it. So the gas is good on the one side. I found out the reason why my lawnmower was eating batteries and got that fixed. And the only thing left is the truck. So not bad. Not bad at all. In between all that, fittings and repairs and all that other stuff. So, whew, all right. So talking about, last thing is I shot a 77 today. Had my dad in tow, although this was not the last picture. This is the only picture I've got. There we are. That's Dad, and that was at that golf course, but that was a while back. And parred the number 1 and 2 hardest holes on the course, and when you do that, you know it's going to be a good day. So not too bad. And as a record-breaking thing for me, this is probably the first round in many, many, many rounds that I had lower than the expected number of putts, right? We expect 36 putts on a round. Obviously, if you want to do better, you need less. And this time around, I had 2 less. So not bad at all. I was quite happy with the performance. And it's funny now that your perspective changes. And that's what I like telling folks when we do these fittings. So we'll then lead us into the expectations part. So when you talk to people, or even if you're out there and you're giving instruction, you can tell by the way people talk how they shoot. Okay, you can just, after a while, you figure it out. So I'm going to kind of crack that code for you right now. If you hear somebody that's more concerned with the mechanics and the grit, going through this laundry list of just swing topics. Is my grip right? Is my stance right? Is the ball placement correct? Is the tee high enough? Is are my shoulders there? Am I going through? Am I going to take a divot? Do I have the shaft lean? La 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 la. And you got this checklist, right? This just absolute checklist of things. chances are they don't break 100. Okay. They just don't break 100. And it's because they're too concerned with all that stuff. Now, is it important to know that? Yeah, it is important to know all that. And once you understand all those philosophies, then your speech starts talking to, well, if I would have, if I would have hit this thing here, if I would have hit it better, a couple more shots, this, that, and the other thing, all of a sudden now you're talking about breaking 90, right? It becomes, when you get into the 90s, it's, well, if I would have hit this shot here, if I would have hit that shot there, if I could have broke this one over there, it becomes course management. All right. And then once you get past that, now you're into the 80s, which is what I'm doing. And you get into the 80s and it was, I didn't hit my shot. I didn't hit the ball flight didn't go where it was supposed to, all those kinds of things. Once you get that, you're in the 70s. Now, when you get into the 70s, it's about windows and feeling the shot. Did you feel like you were getting through it? And that was tough for me. When we did that, my first 76, it was almost effortlessly done. Effortlessly done. Anyway, it was done with very little effort. So following weeks, I'm trying to replicate that and I'm trying to force it, and the results were catastrophic. And it's just like, it was awful. Well, today I got dad in tow and we just start out casual and throw it out there. And of course, yeah, we had a couple of hiccups, but as the whole shot of it, even on some bad shots to the right or to the left, you hit shots out of it and you ended up with good results. And all of a sudden it's effortless again. And it was beautiful. And that's the kind of things that you're looking for when you hear that. Now, how does that work with expectations when going into a fitting? If you go into a fitting and you expect what I'm seeing here as of late, and that's the reason why I'm saying it, and it's no in particular one golfer, it's just a big bubble of what you see is you're going to expect the same results out of different stuff, or just the opposite. You're going to expect way better results of something that's very, very similar. Does that make sense? So what do I mean by that? Well, so I get a few folks that they will hit their old clubs, and they're, because of the fact that they're used to these old clubs, they swing them better, right? The confidence is there, and 3-4 mile an hour, 5 mile an hour sometimes, but 3 to 4, and they go, well, that's not much further than mine. Well, I said, well, when you hit this other one 3 or 4 miles an hour, it's another 6 to 8 yards, which you're getting up there on a whole nother club. Oh, and then it stops. Or you get it's a disbelief kind of thing. And then the other side of it is, as well, I thought if I was going to come in here, I was going to gain, I was going to hit a 300-yard drive, or I was going to hit my 8-iron 190 yards or something along that lines. Well, sorry, a 85 mile an hour swing doesn't produce those kinds of results. And so there's got to be a little realism. And that's the reason why we have them fill out a form of what it is that they truly want to get out of their clubs. In fact, we have a portion on this bottom portion is, what is it that you want to do with your golf clubs? And what is it you don't want to do with your golf clubs? And then that's where we go, and that's how we get the mindset changed into accepting what's going to show up in front of them. Now, sometimes, and sometimes let's just say we're fitting an iron. Sometimes you don't do any better because maybe the club is 2-3 years old and it just works, right? When you get stuff that works, it's really hard to beat that thing. And okay, it's like I ran into one of my customers at the golf course today, and he's got a driver that I put in his bag, and I can't beat it. And he's had it in his bag easily 5 years. The guy just smooths it out, hits the middle all the time. Okay, and we keep thinking that one day we're going to beat it, and we haven't yet, but maybe we're going to. So if you're going to if you're going to go to a fitting, go in there with an open mind. Tell them the objectives that you want to get, and then be available to and just be open to the change that might happen. It might be nothing more than a swing change, a mechanical issue, or it very well may be that the golf club you have in your hand is totally inappropriate, and we can go from there. All right. Well, I just dropped something on the floor, and for a reason I can't find it. Isn't that this? Oh, there it is. Hold on. Oh, had found it. All right, tip weights. Tip weights. Tip weights are exactly what they are. They are weights that go into the tip of the shaft. And I'm trying to give you here now, not to an extent. I'll classify that here in a minute. Here is a typical lead tip weight. All right. Everything's wanting to roll off my table here. Tip weight. There it is. And it's got a hole in the end, and it's got a little, you can see it right there. It's got a bit of a shoulder on it. All right, lead tip weight. Now, they come in various sizes, anywhere from 2 grams all the way up to 10 grams. The 2 gram is just the end of the piece. It barely gets on there. And where this one is it's hard to have this is a 10, this is a 6, that's a 10. To kind of give you an idea of perspective. Now, there are different sizes of tip weights in that you have 370 tip shafts and you have 355 tip steel shafts, right? These are all steel shafts. And that guy right there, that's for a 370 tip, where this guy is for a 355. And if you look at them together, and that's see the difference in the width of them, right? So you have, those can fit. Now, I'm going to give you a pro tip for installing these guys when they don't fit. This is really kind of a good one. All right, so they come in different materials. Brass, as you saw that one. All right. They also come and they fit into into graphite shafts. Now, in the tips of graphite shafts, the internal diameter of the shaft is much, much smaller than a steel shaft. So you got to figure out, well, how am I going to make that happen? Well, voila. Now this is a tungsten. That's a tungsten tip weight. Okay. And there's some weight in here, but most of it is right there. That's a 10-gram tungsten tip weight. Now the cool part about this one is it's flexible. This area right here is just a tough rubbery component where most of the weight sits right here. Its lead counterpart looks like that. Okay, so it looks like, so here's the difference. Now, if you looked at that, you see how that the tungsten has a smaller surface on the bottom than this one does? That's and that's because there is some of the 10 grams is up in the shoulder part or the shaft part of the tip pin. Now, when it comes to graphite shafts, and you're talking about this, whether it be in irons or whether it be in woods, the real problem is if you look at that, that's about 1/4 of an inch. Right? That's about a 1/4 of an inch right there. That's fairly significant, particularly if you're talking maybe a Cobra, right? Because their insertion depth is very, very shallow. And even if you had 1.25 inches, you're only talking about an inch insertion. So you got to be very, very, very careful about how that will work in there. So you say, well, Jim, how do you figure that one out? Well, I just recently ran up on these guys. If you notice, it's a very small bottom, and now all the weight is from here to here. All right. Well, we're getting kind of technical on tip weights, but it's important. So if you have this, all right, versus This, as far as tip weights go, you can notice how there's a lot of difference of insertion. Now, normally when you put these in, you're looking to swing weight something, right? You're looking to swing weight something. So if you put most, and swing weight is about length this way. So if you put this out there and this is on the end of your scale, there's going to be more weight at the end here, and you're going to get a really good swing weight result. Where this guy, it's more away from the bottom and along the tip. So you may need more in order to get to the same result. All right, because you're getting further away from the end, and the more, it's like on a teeter totter, the closer you get in to center line, right, the further you get in, the more weight you need to keep that same balance. Same thing, right? Same thing. So you got to be very, very knowledgeable on the different types of tip weights. Now, the last bit here, this is also what we would call a tip weight, right there. Here we go. And there's a lead. Well, this is not lead. This is tungsten. That little beggar right there is much heavier than that guy. All right, much heavier. But they don't go into the tip. Within the golf club design of the hosel, there's an opening, and it drops into that opening. Washon does it, and I have seen an OEM that does it as well. For life of me, I can't remember what it is, but I have seen that. I've seen where you can do that. And then so that doesn't get up into the tip, and you're still allowing the shaft to get down to the bottom of the hosel. All right, so this is getting very, very, I know it's getting technical. So you have the lead, you have brass. All right, you have brass. You have tungsten with rubber. And then you have the different models where you're on the hosel, or whether you're going to be in taper tip shafts, steel shafts, or parallel tip shafts. So there's a lot of, I've got a fishing tackle box about this big and about that deep and about that wide, and I bet the thing weighs 8 pounds. And it's all from all different sizes and shapes that I might run into. And here, as of late, I've been using quite a bit of them because of the shorter lengths. So I just want to let you guys know that if you're going to be using tip weight, there's a lot to consider. Again, if you're using this, what I've done in the past is I've cut that very much off of a shaft and then inserted it to the end of that to make up for not only the weight, but to get it the better part of the tip into the shaft, or the shaft into the hosel. I've done that. Oh, so what we talked about, how to get it into the end of the club. So if you have the wide one, and let's say this is all you've got, right? This is the 370 one. That's all you've got, and you need to get it into a taper tipped end, or that there's just a lot of chrome on it and it won't fit. Well, the easiest way to do this, and there's plenty of different ways to be sure, but what you do is you get on a sander, and right here on the edge, right here on the edge, you sand it so it's like this all the way around. And what that does is it centers itself into the shaft and gives you a starting point. And then you take a no bounce hammer. I've got it's red on one side, plastic on the other, and I hammer it down, and whatever's left over will basically be trimmed out. And then I just clean it up on my belt sander, just like if I was prepping a tip. And the better part of the reason why that's so good is it's wedged in there, right? You don't need any glue. It's wedged in there. It's not going to go flying out and rattle or any of that other stuff. So it's a pretty neat little trick. Yes, you lose a little bit of weight, but it's in the fractions of 0.0 and then the number. So hundreds of tenths or hundreds of grams, right? So there it is. Okay. Woo. So hopefully that helped. Let's get to answering some questions. There's Matt, shot a 74 and 71, won the local member guest with a 71. Nicely done. How can tee height affect the distance debate? It was talked about during the U.S. Open coverage. Okay, so tee height, can it impact distance? The answer is very much yes. right? Very much yes. Now, does that mean it's going to work? That's the real problem, right? So if you have, eh, all right, so I'm going to use an iron, but the same thing's there. So the idea of having a higher tee height is, if you're hitting, if this is the right way, there you go, and this is the golf ball. Wait a minute, I've got one. Got all kinds of them. Let me see what I got. First box. Here we go. Okay. And I'll be non-brand specific. How about that? Ooh. All right. So you got this guy right there. And it sits about like that. And you hit this guy so that's about the bottom of the ball. So you hit it, it wants to take off like that. Now, if you tee it up, and it's true of the driver, if you tee it up, and I got this, and the ball's up here, it's going to have a higher trajectory. Okay, and the higher trajectory tends to lend itself to higher flight. Think about the easiest way to describe this is if you go to your garden hose and you always wanted a little bit extra distance, you would put your thumb over the garden hose and you would get a little bit more velocity, and then you would angle it up a little bit higher, and then it would arc out, right? It would arc out a little further, and then there you go. And that's increased tee height. Now, that's the physics of it. The reality of it is, as a golfer, now look, let's do one more. So you had said club, and it's a nice little, it's nice like this, but particularly with the driver, you come into it like that. Negative angles of attack. A lot of us do that, right? A lot. And we've even shown that even the better drivers out there, some of them have those, and they're slightly negative, but we have negative angles of attack. You're one of those guys that has all the little blush marks across the top of the driver. Chances are you have a negative angle of attack. And if you go to tee up the club or tee up the ball, you're going to make even more goose eggs on the top of your driver because, all you're doing is you're playing golf on the top of the club instead on the face. So, what I have found is that when you adjust tee height, you can adjust it to height to the point where the golfer's trying to lift the club up, and typically when you try to lift the club up, the face opens and you hit the fade, right? And whereas there's a certain height where you're just comfortable, and then you swing through and you're getting the angles of attack, the speed, the face angles, the whole 9 yards are just right. Now, can you practice that and raise it up? Yeah, you can. Can you do it during a round? No, typically not. But that's where that happens. So, and when you raise up the tee, the idea is that you're also hitting it with an upward angle of attack, so that your spin is being neutralized to a spot. So there's all these things in common. So to answer the question directly, will tee height affect distance? The answer is yes, but it just needs way more than that to make it better. Mike from Buffalo, low round was 70. Nice. Well, there you go. There, and that's what we're talking about to an extent, if you can pull it off. Emmanuel, what's going on? Hope all had a pleasant week. Guy swapped an Acura shaft in his hybrid for a UST driver shaft. Bought his Acura and put it in my TSI2 hybrid. Playing tomorrow. Okay, very good. Well, I tell you what, the Acura, some of the best hybrids I ever played had the Acura hybrid shaft in it. They are very, very nice. All right. There you go. So Max got it all figured out. I debate tee height with my coach. He wants 2 inches. I want 1.5 inches. I get less than 10 degrees launch and less than 200-yard RPM average. I average 260 off the tee at 70 years old. I'm a happy camper. You go, man. You go. So now there's something to be said about this one, Matt. Thanks for getting this all sparked up. the and as we do get older, like getting into Emmanuel's area, sometimes, and depending on where you play, right? If you're playing on flatter courses, then run out might be more of a predominant need than actually getting it out there. Now, that would be seasonal, but some people do rely on that kind of stuff. So you got to keep that in mind as well. There's Krister, got the new shaft. How'd that work? Let's hear that out. Let's see. Swing weight down in the basement because the driver's now weighs 295. That's pretty light. With the Jumbo Max ultralight grip, I have ordered a heavier back weight to my Stealth. Standard is 4 grams. I bought a 10. That'll help. That'll change the feel. Well, it's what you're competing is this is that balance that we were talking about, Krister, in that it's a balance, right? You can trick the swing weight. I wouldn't get so wound up about the swing weight so much as I would the feel, right? And see whether or not you hit a few. If you hit 3 or 4 of them and they turn out and they feel pretty decent, just don't let the first 2 swings be it. Give yourself a handful more and see what happens. All right. In your fittings, do you see people end up with longer driver shafts and when lighter weight, shorter lengths when heavier? What is there no relationship between weight and length of shaft? Well, personally, X, what happens for me is I normally find out that everybody has too long of a driver shaft. As a whole, throughout the fittings, most golfers come in with clubs that are too long, too heavy, and don't have enough loft on them in order to be effective. Now, does that mean like they come in with 8 degrees with 70 gram or 80 gram X flexes that are 49 inches long? No. But what it is that the average golfer really doesn't need a 45.5-inch driver. The pros don't use 45.5-inch drivers. Why would we? Right. So that's discussing the length issue. Now, as far as weight, the weight, what I don't do is I don't try and grab the swing weight back like Krister was doing. I let it go normally because at the standard weight, you can still feel the head to an extent. If I put a heavier shaft in it, it will actually make it feel head lighter, even though it's not. So you've got to be kind of careful in that one as well. Now, if I go really short, then I'll start considering heavier shafts in order just so that the feel stays there. But if you're talking between a half of an inch to an inch, no, I don't normally mess with that. Other than maybe if somebody during the fitting was mentioning that the fact that it felt light or heavy. There's been plenty of times here in the last, say, 6 months that I'll take out the 60 gram shaft and put the 50 gram shaft in it, and they'll go, "Wow, this thing's really, really heavy." No, it's not. It's not heavy. Really? Yeah, in fact, it's lighter. No way. And they feel what it is that the feel of the head starts showing up because you just took out 10 grams, so the feel's got to go somewhere. All right. Kurt Evans, like the Martini tea, consistent heat eliminates variables plus never breaks. There you go. Well, I ran into that. I was using some of these teas that I bet I've gone several rounds with, and today I bet I broke 4 of them. I'm not even sure what that's about. Like the Castle teas, yeah. In the wooden ones, those are great. Charlie, how are you, sir? And Mrs. McGolf, if you're listening to this, My glass is still in the freezer. All right. Hey, Matt, great rounds. Had 39.41, getting there. Hope to break 80 this year, but haven't. But signs are encouraging. Well, you're really, really close, Mr. Bartholomew. Very, very close. Nice. All right. Hello, all. Past my prime. Been in the 90s in Central Illinois, so I haven't played. The good news is that I didn't shoot any high scores. Well done. Well done. It was jungle hot here. I mean, it was like born on the sun kind of hot all the way up till about, I think it was Friday, Saturday. We had a storm blow through and it blew out our net and the whole 9 yards. And we had to fix that. That was another thing on the fix it list. And for 2 nights now, the temperature has gotten into the 50s, right? I started off golfing in the high 50s. I was like, man, that's kind of pleasant all of a sudden. We ended up, it was in the 60s. Friday? Thank you. Delivery. You guys are going to like this one. Ooh. Yes. Thank you very much. Nothing like scotch in a cold glass. That'll work out well. So anyway, it got real nice. Dad was out there with us. We actually had to put the little top on the cart today to keep the wind off of us because it was still kind of chilly. Oh, yes. That's the way to go. Okay. Yesterday played in the Brohof Stadium course where they hosted the Northern Masters. Okay. It was a work event, 24 Happy Players tournament. 96. Oh, no. JC in West Valley, Arizona. How you doing? The course was hard, greens are fast, and pain in the ass first cut. Sounds like they had it set up open style there, Krister. Those types of setups can be absolutely brutal. There's Brendan. How are you, sir? Thank you for staying up late with us. Now, I will take it. I will say that during the 76, that I'm going to throw another shout out to Makefield Putters because why? Like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe bell or whatever so you get more of these videos when they drop. Tomorrow's video, I did not put one out last week. There was so much going on. I thought it to be more important to get the work accomplished and get things fixed than to put out a video. But this one will be on Makefield Putters. Okay, Makefield Putters. And what they did. So I have to give them a lot of credit. The thing is rolling well. It's going where I want it to go, and I'm making putts. Just like Bob likes to say when we're out there golfing on the second putt, it's a blind man kick in, right? When your second shot's right out there. So not bad. And finally, I'm starting to plan my putts. You know how much break and how much speed. And that just comes with putting and the idea of that you're confident in what you're doing now. So yeah, I'm digging it. I'm definitely a supporter now. Yeah. Yeah, Charlie, our backgrounds would show that we'd have to anyway, so might as well keep going. All right. There's Mr. Joe. I'll trade you those problems. No AC at my place. Need a new unit. Oh my gosh, Joe, no AC. Well, hopefully it's as cool as it was down here because right now, last few days, I know it was like friggin' you could cook on your sidewalk kind of hot, but hopefully, and we're getting ready to get some hot ones, so hopefully you can get that heat in there or the AC unit in there quick. That'll be good. And if you're coming down, Mrs. McGolf has got something special, so that we're going to give you as a thank you. All righty. Hooting of the club. Yeah, hooting the club. That's easy. That's easy, as they say. In fact, I had a young man in here today for a fitting, and he was doing exactly that, and he was talking about getting shaft lean. Now, so here's my thought. Hooding the club is something that happens when you don't want to slice. Okay. When you don't want to slice. So again, we'll use this guy as our example. If this is square, and people, what there are a couple of things we'll do is they'll hood the club and they lean. See where the shaft is at? Let's just call this the normal playing position. And if you look at it, there's the shaft and it's already leaning forward, right? So what happens is you'll get people that will start off and they'll be really here where their hands will be near their front leg, right? And what that does is that just takes it from its normal design, let's whatever loft, pick a loft, and they go like this, and you take off 4, sometimes 5 degrees. Now, what can happen? Well, if you're swinging through, you just turn it into a shovel. If you pick it up, you might get okay, but now all of a sudden you're closing the club because sometimes when you hood it, this happens, right? You go to hood it, and if I do like this, and you go to hood it, the toe is what leads, and you see what happens to the face, and now all of a sudden you're hitting it like that, and you're wondering why am I toe digging? But that's hooding the club. Now, have people been successful doing that? Yeah, but there's a lot of work in it. There's a lot of work in it. Mr. Michael Barber, how are you, sir? Thank you for joining us again, staying up late. Thank you, Mr. Charlie. Yes, it was, and it helped. It's really funny because when we talked about the language, it hit me today, as a matter of fact. In the 70s, it's now you're talking about how many birdies you can make to cover up some of the bogeys. Though you know how you go through there. Well, if I would have hit this shot better, if I could have made bogey here instead of double bogey, all right. And then and then if I would have made par. Now, if I would have made birdie, and oh my goodness, it's funny how this game goes. Now, next time I play, I'll probably not. I'll probably shoot an 89 or something. All righty. There's Dave. How you doing, bud? As a Callaway guy, I'm embarrassed to ask, but if a driver is OptiFit Hosel D and -1, what is the outcome? It has draw bias, yes, and a loft -1, but draw adds loft and opens face. Not with the OptiFit. Not with the OptiFit. I could show you that again. I don't have one nearby. So anyway, so what you're talking about, what you're talking about is on most adapters that don't have cogs, right? Most adapters, and what it is that if this is put in straight, they have to go into the adapter. The adapter has to come in at an angle, right? So it's an elliptical. Heard me. It's an elliptical. So what happens is it goes like this, goes like this, and it goes like that, right? So just as you say, right? It goes in the draw, it opens up, it closes the face, does all these weird things. On the cog, the cogs have these angles on them, and each one of those angles is a little different. So when it draws, the D's and the S's and the N's are all about face angle, right? So it's going in. All it's doing is this. And then you go to -1, and it's doing this. So you're correct in your assumption if it wasn't an OptiFit thing. So there you go. Whew, all right. I was just thinking about you today. We were cleaning out the garage, and we have sold off stuff. But and I'm telling him because he's very nearby, I have a Golf Pride slat wall kind of roll around display. All right, and it's really only about this wide. It might be a foot, maybe 18 inches wide, and is as tall as I am. And it's mounted on a rolling base, things in the middle, slat wall on both sides, where you can put in slat wall containers or some of their displays in order to do that. If you're interested in that, email me. All right, just email me. All right, you can play golf or you can play golf swing, and your scores will show which one. That is what I would call a great statement, Charlie. Great statement. There's John. How are you, sir? Travis from Jersey. My local golf store is out of Pro Vs. I heard there's a shortage. I have not heard that. I've not heard that. It's not surprising, but I've not heard that. I've also heard that from Robin was telling me that she's had some customers that were looking for the Wilson Triad. Apparently, it's very popular, and that the big box stores do not have them either. And we just happen to have, I got one shipment of just one case, so we're down to a few left. But yeah, they're hard to come by as well. But no, I haven't. No, I haven't. Mr. Kent, how are you, sir? Hopefully, you guys are taking care of yourself. Great day here in Halifax. Great weather. Played with Debbie and did 69, 91 respectively, and then went out and played another 18. Wow. Oh, my. That's a lot of playing, dude. Hopefully, you got better on this third one round. Mr. Shrek, how similar or different than the DG120 and the KBS Tour, the DG105 KBS Tour Lite in terms of load, feel, etc.? Okay, so what I would say is so the DGs, if anybody knows, is talking about dynamic golds. So if we do the comparison against dynamic gold versus KBS Tour, the difference, what I would say, JC, is the DG 120s are more of what you would see in the standard graphs of ball flight. They go out, they raise up, they go over, and they have the hump, and they come down, and they go into the landing area just like they want. KBS, on the other hand, takes off a little bit higher, the flight, and it tabletops. The flight tabletops, and then it goes down into the landing area. It's a little bit. That's the best way to describe it. Now, personally, I if I had to give a what it feels like kind of concept, is that it would, to me, the DG 120s feel very, very tip stiff, and they are very, very tip stiff, where the KBS feels just a hair softer. Now, that doesn't mean one of these is worse than the other. It just means that's what they are made of in order to fit into the right person. So a guy with a hard lag or a very late release, the DG is going to be an excellent shaft. If you got a guy that's just releasing just ever so slightly earlier, or wants to have a different bit of a ball flight, then the KBS is the way to go. Now, in the 105s versus the tour lights, I think the tour lights are going to be a little bit more flexible. They're going to be a little bit, it's going to feel a little bit more like that versus the 105. Because KBS makes a 105 as well, and those are more comparative than the tour light. There's Duke. Certainly had to clean up after dinner. That's all right. We all got to have some of that. Oh, look, we got some putt-putt happening. 3 generations. Well done. All right. What are your thoughts on the new Titleist TR drivers if you saw them? I have not. In fact, I just saw My Golf Spy just sent out an email saying that they're being released, and they think they're very, very cool. I think it's kind of preemptive for a group that bases everything on data, but hey, there's always a cool factor involved, right? But I have not seen them, but I'd really like to hear about them. That's for sure. Did you see emailing me about a week ago asking about a hybrid shaft? I thought Robin answered that one. All right. At what point is a player ready for a fitting? Ooh, good question, Cody. What point is ready for a fitting? Wow, that's a good question. So here's what I tell folks when I recommend fittings. Can you be a brand new golfer and need a fitting? Yes. If you are, let's say, over average in height or under average in height, or maybe that you have some sort of a disability that might impact the way that you can swing. Some folks, you would need to know that. Now, is it going to be a full on, true, kind of fitting? No. It's just to kind of get you in the ballpark kind of stuff and let you develop your swing kind of thing. So if you're 6'6", 6'8", something like that, yeah, you're going to need some different kind of clubs. And a real down and dirty, let's figure out what you swing best kind of thing works. Same thing for being shorter, say, I don't know, 5'5", 5'6", maybe lower, right? Pardon me. And or if there's some sort of, you could have arthritis that gets in the way and maybe you need some extra large grips, or you've had a rotator cuff surgery and you haven't quite got there yet. Those kinds of things. Now there is other more major things, but we're not going to get into that one. The other part is, let's say there's nothing wrong with you and you're right down the middle. It depends on the amount of rounds that you get. If you get to the point where you've played 6 months and you've put a lot of rounds in and you just feel like something's not right, like you're not hitting it just right for some particular reason, then that's a good time to get started, right? And it doesn't mean that's going to be the first and only one you get, right? That one will get you tuned up and help you get over that hump of that score that you've had, and then you can develop, uh, better course management, better ball striking capability, landing it where you want to, and then all of a sudden maybe you need to get looked at again. I've had folks come in here 3 and 4 years later, 10 and 15 years later, just because of age. If you're in that cycle where age gets in the way, if you're a 20-year-old and you come in at 30, chances are, is anything going to change? Probably not. But if you come in at 30 and then all of a sudden you're hitting me at 55, now all of a sudden we're looking a little different. So that's what I would tell him, Cody. But man, heck of a good question. All right. Mr. Jones, how are you, sir? Glad you're on. Really pleased with Debbie and how she's been playing at the moment. She's breaking 90 for fun, and today had plenty of penalty shots. Ah, yeah, those suck. Those are never fun. Jenny, ha 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 ha. 91 in Wisconsin. Most folks in Wisconsin are probably melting at 91. They start melting at around 80. So, well, hey, drink lots of water, kid. Hot Lombard, Illinois. You guys in Illinois and Wisconsin are killing me because I know it's going to show up here. It's going to show up here in the next day or two, and it's going to be awful. So another yet about a story. So my other job, the crews that I had, I told them I would cook for them if they did really well, and they did. And I got through, and they shift work, so it takes 4 weeks to complete this evolution of cooking. So we're cooking. Last Wednesday was the last of my cooking evolution, and I'm out there, and it's 98 degrees, and it's just freaking hot. And I'm staying about 20 foot away from the grill. And I get out, and I'm like, I've been out there about an hour. I'm like, wow, this isn't so bad. Hey, everybody's talking about how bad it is out here. I don't feel so bad. I'm like pretty good about this. I don't feel all sweaty. I mean, I feel myself sweating, but not, drenched out. That is until I went inside. Went inside and the air conditioner hit me, and oh my God. It's like somebody just poured a bucket of water on me. It's something else. It's funny how that kind of stuff works. All righty, let's get back up here to the top. Here we go. Michael, Jim, if I change the weight in the rear of my driver, say to a 10 to 15, what should I expect to gain from this? So if you're going to move just 5 grams, Michael, it'll be a tweak. It won't be like a massive change. So let's do with that. So what'll happen is that it moves the center of gravity back. You're moving it back even further in that line, so that what it does, it should increase ball flight, right? The launch angle, it'll increase ever so slightly. So if you're looking for just a small change, that could help you quite a bit. Now, from an overall perspective, depending on how big the head is, 5 extra grams, that's 2.5 swing weight points. So it should feel a little heavier. Personally, if you got one of those what I called egg-shaped drivers, where they kind of come into a point in the back, right? They're more eggy than they are round. Sometimes that can cause you, in just ever so slightly, the amount of choices, that every once in a while it can be open, right? You gonna go pick? Okay. Mrs. McGolf is gonna go pick because we got to mow tomorrow. And hey, can you close this because your thing is playing? Hey, she's on a mission. Hold on. Sorry for the technical difficulty. Okay, so sometimes it might hold you open, maybe. But I wouldn't necessarily take that to the bank. But that's it. So slightly high ball flight, ever so slightly a little bit more spin, but not a gross amount. But if you're looking for that, that's a great way to go. Alrighty, here we go. Charlie, those different lengths of tip weights can affect the balance of the point of balance in the used end. Would the longer ones be detrimental to the balance point? Any kind of tip weight you're going to use, Charlie, is going to do that to an extent. It's not the balance point of the shaft per se, because that's a design element. But as far as when you're talking about balance, we're also talking about the swing weight, right? And because shafts have a balance point, some 23 inches, 24 inches, 23 and a half, whatever. Now, the more that you cut off or you weight, well, that balance point, that's where that thing was made. And you're just kind of moving it like that in little bitty increments. By putting this in here, you're not necessarily, what you're doing is you're just trying to impact the swing weight to give yourself a feel. As far as balance goes, I mean, the real balance, I wouldn't sweat it. All righty, good stuff on tip weights. Thank you. I know it's minimal, but do you prefer to trim a 1/4 inch off the tip or the butt when necessary? I take it off the tip, Steve. If Let me grab one here. Particularly if I'm doing something like that, I'll take it off the tip. Um, if I'm doing something like this where it fits in, where you see just where you have that little bitty shoulder, I cut to the frequency, and when I'm matching, I'm putting them all together. But I'm always putting them there. All right, my dog Rex, where you going, man? I haven't seen you for a bit. Is a 9-gram spread between clubs and complete club weight a good spread? And would lead tape serve better to space the weighting than a shaft tip weight? So what I like on a hole when I'm measuring is I look for a 7-gram dispersion between. It's funny. It's a 7-gram dispersion between heads, as small as you can possibly get between the shafts and the grips. You want them to be the same. So all in all, one would think that 7 grams is the total weight, right? And for me, that rarely happens. I am normally, when it's all said and done, because now it could be glue, I don't know where, it could be the amount of tape that one uses, but I end up between 4 and 5, honestly. So if you're getting 9, and you're getting 9 and it's really 9 all the way up and it's consistent, I'd say you're okay. As long as it's not messing with anything else. Now, if it's causing you issues with swing weights and that, then yeah, you're going to have to add it. Lead tape works as a really, really quick thing for a completed club, but if you're building, I would prefer tip weights just from a cosmetic appearance. There you go, Justin. How you doing, buddy? Hey, Zoopy showed up. If you guys are a pair, holy smokes. Both of you guys can throw it out there pretty good. So Justin came for a fitting, and the guy can hit the ball. And his buddy, Zoopy, is a bigger, taller version and hits the ball. It's the same swing speed, but he hits the ball with a little bit more, shall we say, force. And yeah, it's going to be, you guys are quite the pair. In reality, it's whoever has the hottest stick, I would imagine, the hottest putter. All right. Have you heard of Orca Golf? Yes, I have. In fact, if you look on their Krister, I have. In fact, if you look on their website, I think I'm still probably the only one in the U.S. that's their stockist, as they would say. I was there in the beginning with them, and I would like to think, and the only thing I tell them is I had a hand in designing their forged left-handed clubs. And what I liked from a look and design purpose, and they made them. And I like to say again, I also got the very first set of those things, and I still have them. They're out in another bag out here. And I pull them out every once in a while, and I still stripe them. I still stripe them. There was the forged component that they've got, that RS, I think it's RS10. The RS10 is really nice. Now they have a bladed club. It's a cast bladed club. I'm not a fan, but their forged product, very, very nice. It works very, very well. Their latest driver I haven't had a chance to play with because they don't get into the left-handed side of the market very much because they're a smaller company. They got the Reflex. I think that's what it's called, the Reflex. Now, from a look standpoint, the thing looks very, very good. Alex out there at Orca, he's at HQ. He has a real eye for style. He really does. He has a real eye for style, and he can play some golf too. Guy has a vocabulary that the size of it's a volume this deep. He's very, 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 very talented individual. All right. Josh and Courtney Higgins. Hey, guys. Thank you. Thanks for showing up. Oh, he's ready for a club fitting. Give her a call. Was practicing my putting earlier and was holding more putts with my right hand my right hand than both. I don't know what that's telling me, Jim. Left hand grip, the top as light as possible feels good. I got to think about this one. So if you're right-handed, it's the lower grip. So, Brandon? If you haven't been measured for a putter, you might look at the length of the putter. If that's where, because if you're leaning down to grab it with the right hand, that might be an issue. Now there's a guy over there in Ireland that's making putters, and for the life of me, I'm gonna have to send me your email and I'll send it to you. There's a guy over there, and apparently they're a milled putter, and they look to be very, very nice. You might want to contact him. Have you ever fitted someone for a wood that is a complement to an iron, like a wood that goes as far as a 5-iron, but better for ball stop faster in the greens? Typically, Krister, what that comes down to, what I've done is I've had guys that were just really afraid of irons, right? And they turned to hybrids, and they made hybrids. There's some of them, they make hybrids down pretty much to about the 8 iron. There are some out there that you can make the argument that there's a sand wedge. Well, I built a set from Bang Golf. It was really kind of interesting, and but did it do any better? Well, as far from a wedge point of view, no, I don't think it does. But from a lower iron perspective, yeah, probably. If you can get through the ball cleanly, it should go up higher and land softer, but with less spin because the faces aren't nearly as aggressive. Now, from a wood standpoint, a little flatter, that kind of thing. Most of the time frame, you're really stretching it if you get past the 9 wood in some cases, and that's probably closer to, oh, I'd probably say that you're in that 6 iron range, maybe 7 iron range, and that's about as far as it goes. Mediocre golfer. Would you recommend the same shaft for wedges as in irons? Not normally, no. I was fit for Project X.55 in my irons. Was wondering if it's worth it to wait getting them in my Mizuno wedges or if I just go with stock. Okay, so what I like to do, uh, what I like to do in wedges is I like the wedges, the true wedges, the sand wedge and the lob wedge. The pitching wedge, the gap wedge, the attack wedge, all those, I like those being with the irons because they're full swing clubs, and I like maintaining the same feel. Okay. Now in the sand wedge and the lob wedge, I like them to be slightly heavier, more wedge like, i.e., the stock stuff that's coming in there. I think they got the DG Tour issues in them now, right? And although sometimes you can get Nippons, so I guess it depends on what comes in them. But if you're 5.5s and they were standard issue weight, no, I think that you would probably end up liking them in stock. And he did too. He had one of the coolest walking sticks I think I've ever seen. All right. Jake Benth. There's a new one. How off can manufacturer links be from posted specs? Jake, now I will have to say, if OEM manufacturers, from a length standpoint, the two things that they really like being good on is length and swing weight. Length and swing weight, lie angles and loft angles. Loft angles plus or minus degree, lie angles maybe about a half a degree, but length and swing weight pretty much dead on. Now you might find somebody might say 38 and they come out at 38 and a quarter. What that is that the raw length was 38 and you put the grip on and that grip cap made it a quarter-inch longer. What is a Castle tee? I went with the assumption, Jack, that you ever seen those? We would call them hourglass tees. That's one. Or if he likes the other one where you see the little fingers that sit up like that. Trying to think of who the zero friction types. But my first inclination is the hourglass type. Thursday was the one. I don't know that one. Alrighty. Jerry Smiley, what's up? Still fighting the heat here in Texas, but I shot my best round of the year. It's going to be in the hundreds. Whoo-wee. You know what I found? So I've half thought about this, and other than the fact that it's going to be, in the high 90s and being outside and sweating your butt off is not very fun, but Sun Mountain makes an umbrella that has on the outer skin is that reflective silver, like you would see the firefighters that walk into a fire that have the big silver helmet and the silver outfits, right? The silver outfits that go on it. Well, the outside of this umbrella is all silver. and the inside is several different colors, and they're like a neon orange or neon green. Sometimes it's black. And I had a fella come out here wanting to look at an umbrella. So I opened up one of those, and I opened up just a regular one, and I had him stand underneath of them and asked him if he could tell anything different. And he could, because it did. It was noticeably cooler underneath that umbrella. Okay. It it was noticeably cooler under the umbrella. So yeah, I'm thinking that if you're a walker, I would get one of those umbrellas and put it on the cart if you're a pusher, or just keep it nearby and you can walk and just set it down when you go to hit, just so that you stay out of the sun more often. I mean, it can't hurt. All right. So Nick's talking with Robin about something. Big Al, what do you say, sir? Thank you for staying up late. Good evening from a very sunny and hot Dublin. Oh, yeah. No, you guys don't prep for air conditioning too much, so man, turn on the fans. Played the foursomes comp yesterday with my good friend. We had a gross 84 with a 68 net. Played off a combined 16 handicap. Nice. Well done. Where did you play? Where did you play? That sounds. I got to tell you, I every time we get over there, I enjoyed myself. So yeah, I have not 3D printed Cobra putters. I have not. I tested the separate Supernova and the Ajira putters. Like the Supernova more, they just felt too big. Okay. The Cobra guy doesn't come this way. Again, I'm like 20 miles past the banjo music, Krister, and that's a movie reference. It's a movie reference from around here. Most people understand, but no, he doesn't come this way, and I haven't. All I have is seen pictures. It'd be interesting to see what it feels like. Matt's there. Was just at the store to get our daughter a puppy. You went to the store to get your daughter a puppy. Boy, oh boy, I bet that's a topic of discussion in the house. Good luck, sir. Once they become part of the family, it's over. What kind did you get, man? That'd be interesting to see. I wish you lived closer to me. The price of gas, a little more than 8-hour drive. I'm struggling what to do. Would love to your expert fitting advice. Well, Duke. Me too, man. I'd love to have been. We thought about moving a little bit north, but all it would do is save you an hour, so you'd be 7 out. And gas prices do suck. I will have to say that. That's not a lot of fun dealing with what's going on. Although I will say it did go down about a quarter per gallon around this neck of the woods. So hopefully we're in the right trend now. But I will say we've had people drive further. So if you ever get to that point where you want to take that trip, there's a hotel nearby. You can just stay the night. You can come in late, stay the night, and then take off afterwards, or come in early or stay the night and then turn around and leave. Whatever it is whatever works. All right. Oh no! What a bet! Well, good for her and good for you for keeping the bet. Good for you. Hook, line, and sinker. Well, hopefully you got a really cool dog. We finished in first place with Big Al did with a net 66. Delighted we are. All right. Well done. Great show again. Well, thank you, sir. Watch Matt win his first major, and Billy Foster was crying. Yeah. How about that? Yeah. They were all talking about all these guys. I mean, Fluff, love that man to death. You get this guy, it's a newbie who just walks right in there and gets it. I think that's cool. Colin Miles. Hi, Jim. Help. Is there a secret to removing a Titleist 905 shaft? I really want to use the old Grafaloy blue shaft in my Sim 2 Max. Okay, so 905. 905 is a bore through, if I recall correctly. So let's get a couple things. So bore throughs with Titleist, it holds virtually 3.5 to almost 4 inches of the tip of the shaft. And that's because it has a really tall hosel, and it's going to go all the way through the club, and then it gets down to the bottom, which makes it longer. Okay. Yes, they can be removed. You probably want to take it to a shop to have it done, and it can be done. Now, let's assume I'm correct and this 905 truly is a bore through. I'm pretty sure it is. If you go to install it in your Sim Max, there's going to be about 1.5 inches worth of a braided shaft sticking out. So if you're a guy that likes a good looking club, don't do it, right? Because there isn't a ferrule long enough to cover it up. I've done that. That's the reason why I know. And so you might want to take it. So that's where we'd go, right? And you would have to actually trim a little bit for it to fit in correctly because you'll have the angle for where the bore through is at. So you're going to trim off about, I don't know, 3/16 of an inch maybe. I think that's where the comes across. So you have 3/16 of an inch that you can gain. It'll make it slightly stiffer in the shaft, but it doesn't go all the way down through, so it kind of balances out. So you got to be careful of that. But yeah, anybody with a decent puller should be able to pull that off. Now you got to be careful with the heat. You got to go around. If you go to my bore throughs, in fact, I've done some Titleist. You start around the edge of the bore through and then work your way back, and that tends to help. But it is a job. If you're doing it by hand, it is a job. Simon DeGuerre. All right. Hopefully I said that right. Love your opinion and all your knowledge. Thank you very much. You are very much welcome. What is your favorite direct-to-consumer company? Does PXG DC irons compare? Does the PGX0 DC irons compare to the company? Well, Simon, my most favorite right now, only because I know the man himself, and I've played a couple of the clubs, is New Level. I like the New Level product. It is I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, if Eric has had anything to do with it, it will be a top-notch club. The design is there. He's softened he's finally figured out that softening the sole is better than having he's done that. He's had his senior tour guy has had some success, some really big success. So good for him. But he would be my number one. And the 211 DCs, 211 DCs. I would say if for the 211 is kind of a game improver to game improver, yeah, I think he would stand a chance. I think they'd stand toe to toe. Bill Winger, how are you, sir? Where did you learn to do club fittings? Well, I took a class at GolfWorks. It was a week-long club fitting. It was called Club Fitting and Repair. And they really, really dove into the mechanics of club fitting, right? And it was so Maltby himself is engineer minded, so there's always cause and effect, and that fit the way I was thinking. So I took that. Then I joined what was called the Professional Club Makers Society, PCS. It was out of Louisville. In Louisville, they had 3 certifications. One was a club maker, a club fitter, and a club repairer. And I took all 3 of those. So the club repairer was a 300 question test, and you had to watch a couple of videos to see how you would fit somebody and defend your argument, because sometimes you may not agree with what they came up with, but technology changes, things change. So you had to be able to debate your point. And we did, and I did. And that's where we got from there. And then I did that. And then there was then what I did is I started looking around at different people's philosophies. A lot of the OEMs and their philosophies, there was information to cherry pick in order to give you an idea of what's going on. And then after that, a lot of trial and error as far as seeing what works, and listening to a lot of research out there with swings and what makes things work in different ways, and a lot of bouncing off a lot of folks too. To go back to that, Bill, there right now what we have is it's called the ICG, International Club Makers Guild, and they talk a lot to the fitting perspective as well. Same thing where you can bounce questions off of guys that are doing it. Jazz Harmon, what's up? Took apart a Mizuno Club Easy Forge and was wondering, have you ever seen a ferrule with a screw end? And if so, could you still epoxy when reshafting? Thanks for the help. Great channel. Well, you're more than welcome. I have never known Mizuno to use a ferrule with a screw. Oh, you're talking. I'm not quite certain how to answer this one. So if we're talking about if there was something in the actual hosel itself, then yeah, that happens all the time. Those are tip weights. If you're talking about the ferrule having actual threads and screwing in from Mizuno, I've never seen that. Never ever. So what you might be looking at, Jazz, is if you're looking inside the hosel, what they have is they have these ridges, and it might look like threads, but it's very much just a whole bunch of circular shoulders that go all the way down. Mr. Helmick, hey buddy, what's going on? There's a blast from the past. Well done. Hey, St. Louis is in the house. What do you think of Aerotech steel fiber shafts? Do you act different than graphite shafts? I think they're very good. And yes, they do, in the form of just like any other, it has its own particular profile, RS. It has its own particular profile and its own particular feel. I think it plays a little stiffer than advertised, as most, and it gives a slightly more head feel. But outside of that, I mean, it has its, like Acra has a profile, Steel Fiber has a profile, KBS has a profile, and they're all a little bit different from each one. This one is more for the ball striker. That would be the way I'd put it. All right. Here's a new one. Cool Town Cardinal. All right. What's the difference between a flat lie and an upright lie? How can a positive or negative lie angle improve your game? By the way, I really enjoy the videos. All right, dude. Well, here we go. So, if upright lie angle, let's get rid of this so we can do it. So there's two ways of considering lie angle. You either use the shaft lean or the sole in the bottom. In Europe, they tend to use the shaft. Here in the U.S., so if we have that, and you have an upright lie angle, that means that the toe is more up in the air at address, right? Whereas you had a flat lie angle, you would go like that. Okay, so what that means is that the club is flatter, right? It goes down this way. It's flatter so that more toe would hit, assuming from standard, right? So if everything is cool right here and you went flat, it would do like that. If you had an upright, it would do like that. Now, if you were adjusting and you wanted a flatter lie angle, you would pull back and you would pull down, and that would effectively give you a flatter lie angle. If you wanted them more upright, you would go like that. So if you look at it from the shaft, you pull down for the flatter, you push up for the upright. All right. So what can happen when you do that, right? That's the second question. So The idea here is, yeah, you can listen to all the golfers of the planet, and they tell you toe digs do one thing and heel digs do another. Well, in reality, they can do both depending on how you attack the ball. But as case in point, if you toe dig, what happens is if that happens, typically what you want to will happen is this. All right. Now, can you go like that when that happens? Yes, but predominantly this happens. If you heel dig, this happens, right? You close it up. So what you really want is something angle that where you're catching the middle of the sole. I know the next question is going to be, well, what if the ball's below your feet and below your feet? Well, you can't bend the club right at that particular point. You have to make that adjustment. Squatting down like you see the folks do, knowing that if it's below your feet, the tendency is going to be to go away. If it's above your feet, it's to tend to come in. So you have to adjust where your aim is at. All right, a couple more here, guys. What do you think about the UTM recoil iron shafts? I have read rave reviews on them. It's a good idea to possibly go to these to increase clubhead speed for better distance across your irons. UST. Yeah, the recoil shafts. So Greg, the recoil shafts have been an excellent iron shaft since day one. There was here as in the last, we'll say not this very last year, but the predecessor year before that, they started sliding a little bit, and they came out with a recoil dart. And the recoil dart is an excellent shaft. They've kind of found themselves. So what you're asking is, yes, is the recoil shaft very good? The answer is yes. Yes, it is. Is going to a graphite shaft as a whole can increase clubhead speed? Yes, because as a whole, graphite shafts are lighter. Now, if you're an aggressive swinger, you may not like it. So you got to be careful of that. Going lighter doesn't necessarily mean everything positive, but you can take a look. But I mean, I played with graphite for years, and it was not a problem. All right, Simon DeGear is just impressed. Incredible questions. Yeah. Welcome to the channel, dude. This is like this all the time. We hit it. Justin Zuby had another good thing about his experience. He hit the ball well with his new driver. Good. Dude kills it, man. He kills it. Pine Meadow, all the way through lob wedge. Yes. Yes. Greg G, love the videos. Thank you. 2.5 years ago, all of a sudden, I became a golf club repairman. 10 years building houses, 31 years with UPS, now retired. Well, that's a heck of a transition, Greg. Started working with a new company called Drive Shack. Never heard of them. It'd be neat to hear what they do. Yep. Well, thank you. Okay, thank you. The one I might not be the you may not be the 101 person. I've always thought about working on that one. They're like a little series of real basic stuff, but there's so much on YouTube. I just don't know if that's worth it, but it'd be fun to check out. Monday through Thursday at Drive Shack, West Palm Beach. Ooh, now we're talking. 81 clubs made in one shift. Dude, well done. There's another idea. Wear bright colored long sleeves, bounces a lot of sun. Your putting grips on the air compressor gives me opportunity to mass produce a lot of shaft. Oh, okay, yeah. There you go. Well, the umbrella thing, very cool. Sarah Club Assembly is what you enabled me to do. I'll hopefully get into more technical. All right. Thank you, Greg. You the man. Hit the thumbs up, people. Here's Diane. Well worth the trip to Ohio. So happy came for the fitting. Definitely. Diane was a lot of fun. Her and her husband they were a ton of fun to be around. It was really neat. What was in the drink? It looked really good. She said hi just after she served it to you. Yeah, she had it. So this was a Glenlivet 14. Glenlivet 14. It looked really tall, like it was in here. It's because this ice cube was about that big around. It didn't even fit past the golf ball. So yeah. So it's been melting and taking stuff up. It's Orca Reflex Woods. Yeah. Uh I I've only seen the pictures of the Reflex Krister. In comparison to the cranks, I would imagine you're probably going to hit the cranks in a whole different fashion, but I could be wrong. Played Carton House. Okay. Billy Foster's 4 years caddying was from Steve Hart. Fitzpatrick. Name a few. Nice. That's always good stuff. All right. We made it to the very bottom, guys, and it is almost a half an hour past with everything is going on. I got to call it quits and get ready to do other stuff that we've got going on. Hoo-wee. All right, so let's go back and take this off. Where'd we go? Oh, here we are. There we go. So again, guys, let's try that again. Thanks, guys. It's been from around the world. I love the questions. It's always fun to answer and see what's going on because you guys represent the golfing public, whether you be professionals or not, right? And it just really helps me open my eyes to what's going on out there, and I appreciate it. Again, watch for the video tomorrow. It'll be on the Makefield putters to be sure. And as always, let's see your scores. Go low.